G'day, I'm Dr. Mike. When I'm not hanging out with Jake and Olivia at All About Animals, I'm working at Vet Products Direct. It's an online shop with thousands of discounted pet care products, and you can talk to vets and vet nurses who care about your pet as much as you do. Use promotion code ANIMALS to receive 5% off your order plus free postage anywhere in Australia. I'll see you at vetproductsdirect.com.au and enjoy the show.
This program is proudly brought to you by Vet Products Direct, Holistic Select and the Woolmark Company. Welcome to today's show of All About Animals. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Jake. Join me as I visit the penguin exhibit at Seaworld while Olivia catches up with Ben Britton from Nat Geo Wild.
Plus, we learn about dog training and floating horses.
And after the show, make sure you go to our website and enter some great competitions for your pet. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
We've got lots in store for you today, so sit back and enjoy watching
All About Animals. When we visited Seaworld on the Gold Coast, I made sure I went to the penguin exhibit. Now, penguins are birds that don't fly, but swim really well. They nest on land, but find their food in the sea. I almost got to go inside the enclosure, but they had some new penguins that were in quarantine, so I wasn't allowed to this time. I caught up with Katrina, who works very closely with these little guys, to find out more about them. So, Katrina, how long have you been working at Seaworld for?
Yeah, since this exhibit first opened, which was about 18 months ago.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. How do you tell the difference between all the penguins?
Yeah, well, you can't tell males from females just by looking at them, and they do all look alike. So you might have noticed we've got wing bands on each and every one of our birds, and each one has a colour code that helps us to tell them apart. A bit like a name tag.
What other species in this exhibit?
We have two different species. The large ones with the black feet are our king penguins, and the smaller ones with the orange feet are Gentoo penguins.
King penguins are the second largest species of penguins and can weigh up to 16 kilos, whereas Gentoo penguins are easily recognised by their longer tails, white stripe on their head and bright orange-red bill. So Katrina, what are their main predators?
Out in the wild, they would be hunted by seals, sharks and of course killer whales.
Oh, okay. So how cold is this exhibit?
The exhibit sits at -1 degrees.
Okay, and I noticed that you were putting the fish down their throat instead of them just biting it off. Why was that?
Well, they do fish for themselves in the wild out in the pool, so we can throw food into the pool and they're fine to catch it, but they're not really good at picking it up off the ice, and we probably don't really want to be feeding them off the ground, and that's why we feed them directly.
How do you know that they've all had something to eat?
Yeah, so as we're feeding them, we do keep track with a little slate with all of their names, and we just tick them off as we go.
In the wild, Gentoo penguins' diet is actually krill and fish. However, the king penguins eat mostly fish and squid. How old are they roughly?
They vary in ages, but out in the wild they generally live to be between about 15 to 20 years.
Okay, do both species live in Antarctica?
Not quite Antarctica, but near Antarctica.
Near Antarctica.
A place called the Sub-Antarctic, so lots of little islands.
Okay, and it must be pretty hard to keep the exhibit clean, so how do you do it?
We're pretty lucky that we can just hose the ice and the waste goes straight down through a complex draining system and then out through our sewage waste.
Wow, that's pretty easy. Well, I think you have the best job in the world. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
They're amazing to watch in the water and on the ice. I found out that when penguins swim, they leave a path of bubbles behind them. This coat of small air bubbles acts as a lubricant, reducing drag, so the penguin can reach lift-off speeds. This can help them launch onto land to escape predators quickly. Pretty amazing, eh? That was definitely one of my favourite exhibits at Seaworld.
Today, Richard from the Float Centre is going to give me some great tips on safely floating my horse, Kite. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Olivia.
So So can you give me some tips on floating horses?
Sure, okay. One of the first things we've got to remember is always check the float before you start. Make sure the float is safe and make sure it's parked on a level surface that's safe for you and the horse. One of the things to remember is always hold the horse firmly by the halter rope just under his halter, and then the other end. Never wrap the rope around your fingers or around your hand in case it gets caught. If the horse runs off, you could have a serious injury or break your arm. Onto the tailgate, good boy. Now you see here, Kite's quite happy to go on there. Again, if you've got a young horse, if he wants to stop, let him stop and sniff. If he wants to go back, don't try to fight him. He's much more powerful than you are, so just let him go off and come back when he's a bit more relaxed. Okay? So in this case, Kite's quite happy, so we'll ask him to go onto the float. Good boy. Now you'll notice at this point, I haven't walked onto the float with him. I've stopped at the top of the tailgate. That's the safest thing to do. Let the horse walk on when you want him to. In this case, he's happy to stand and relax, and then we can close the divider and close the breech door of the float. Okay, Olivia, at this stage we'll get you to close the other breech door and then we'll close the tailgate. We'll leave the top door up for the moment because if this were a young horse we want to make sure that he was comfortable when we closed everything and wasn't frightened. Okay. I'll help you lift the tailgate. You stand to the side, never behind the tailgate. Lift it and close the latches. Okay, let's go around to the front of the float and we'll show you how to tie him up. Okay, Olivia, show me how you tie him up, remembering not to tie him too tight so that he can get his head up if he needs and to drop it down so that he can cough. Okay.
Good boy, stand.
That's it. Now we always tie to binder twine so that if something serious does happen he can break away without hurting himself. Okay, so the vents are open. Let's close the access door. Well, I'll make sure the side windows are open so there's plenty of flow through ventilation, remembering that that's so important for horses to make sure there's plenty of airflow. And now we can close the top rear door before we head off with the horse.
So do we need to check anything here?
Yes, we do. You're quite right, Olivia. There's a few critical things. Firstly, ensure that this catch is down and that the float is securely on the back of the car. Next, make sure the safety chain is on and secured to the car. Thirdly, make sure the handbrake is off. Fourthly, the jockey wheel is up and secure. And lastly, make sure the lights are plugged in and all are working.
Alright,
okay. Cool. Now we're going to have a look at the safety camera.
Alright.
Olivia, one of the problems with floating is that usually you can't see a horse or know what he's doing in the float. So for that reason we're using a trailer view camera monitoring system. This is a safety feature so that you can keep an eye on the horse while you're travelling. Now you don't need to watch the screen continuously and certainly the driver shouldn't be doing that, but the passenger can keep an eye on the horse and make sure the horse is safe and secure and happy. And the best way of doing that is with one of these camera systems.
For more information about floats and cameras, go to thefloatcentre.com.
This week we're back at Para Hills Vet Clinic with Dr. Trudy Seidel. So Dr. Mike, today we'd like to learn more about our feathered friends.
And we've got a couple of fantastic examples right here. Trudy, could you introduce us to your feathered friends?
Certainly, this is Reggie. He's a 25-year-old regent parrot. And Dusty up here is 15-year-old cockatiel.
15 and 25, are you serious?
Yep, parrots live for a very long time. People have to be aware when they make a commitment to a parrot that things like the cockatoos live for about 100 years.
Wow.
So it's not a short-term commitment.
So looking after birds, is there anything special that you can tell us?
You've got to make very good sure about what they're eating, make sure it's appropriate for the bird. Right. So you can tell by this guy's beak that he's actually a fruit eater as well as a seed eater. Dusty over there eats more seed, but he does still need all of the other things. You've got to make sure that their diet is not too high in fats. The sunflower seed causes a lot of problems in our larger parrots and cockatoos. Also watch their perching, make sure that they've got lots of natural branches that they can use and flex and move their feet on.
So what's the best way to look after a bird?
Basically having them tamed to you so that they know you, that they will come to you, that give them lots of exercise so that they can either fly around the house or have a large enough cage that they can move in. Parrots in particular bond very much to people or to another parrot. They're not birds that are solitary birds, so they like somebody to be around. They like company.
When someone brings in a bird to you as a vet, what sorts of things are you looking for?
We're looking for things like what their weight is, or he doesn't like that, but you feel over the chest bone to see whether he's actually overweight, underweight, or a good size for him. You're looking at the feathers, making sure the feathers are bright and plump, looking at the base of the feathers, looking at their skin, in their eyes, their noses. Believe it or not, birds actually have ears that are sitting underneath the eyes, under the feathers. So we check their ears. Just giving them a good check all over. We actually do feel their abdomen and listen to their chest and their heart as well.
They'll still get a proper vet check.
Absolutely. They have as many problems as dogs and cats do.
Oh, wow.
So on that topic, do birds actually get worms?
Certainly do. Even worms get worms, I believe. But every animal does get wormed and do need to get wormed on a regular basis. So there are lots of different deworming solutions that you can get for them. See a vet or a very reputable bird specialist type pet shop.
Fantastic. Do birds need vaccinations?
No, that's one thing they don't need.
Oh, wow.
So some of the commercial birds, like poultry, do, but most of the caged birds and pet birds, there aren't vaccines available for them.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic. Well, I think as far as feathered friends go, these guys are a couple of prime examples. Thanks for your time today, Trudy.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Great to meet your friends.
No worries.
Very good, thank you.
In a previous episode, we saw how bad Candy was on a leash. I think George will have some tips on how to make it more enjoyable.
We're going to teach your dog to walk nicely today, Jake.
Okay, how are we going to do that?
Well, what we want as a dog whisperer is that our dog walks by our side calmly. A strong-minded dog, I think your best option for you is a Holtie.
Is it Holtie?
The Holtie slips over her nose.
Yep.
It's comfortably there. This is loose, completely loose, so she can completely open her mouth. Our lead attaches to the bottom ring and gives us a lot more control of the direction of their head. We can turn it around if we need to, and calms them down as well. Now, she's never walked calmly before, but we were expecting her to walk in a real calm, passive state following you, and you have to be in a state that pacifies her, which is confident, relaxed, and focused on where you're going, not what your dog's doing.
Okay.
Completely relaxed, no tension. We're going to give you a shot at it.
Okay.
So here you go. You don't have to get this right straight away, mate. We just want to see where you're going wrong and keep perfecting it.
Okay.
So what we want is enough lead that this is loose when she's by your side.
Yep.
But she only needs that much lead. We can't have it tight all the time, or she doesn't know where she is expected to go.
Okay.
Or where she gets peace. So we want it to be about here.
Yep.
So when she goes too far forward, she'll get a slight correction. If she goes back, she'll get another correction. And if she's not paying attention, all we do with these is just a gentle little flick. It's as hard as you ever need to correct a dog.
Okay.
Just a little flick of your wrist.
All right.
So there we go.
Hold it like that.
So you can have a completely relaxed arm.
Yep.
You can focus ahead at what you're doing, not what your dog's doing.
Okay.
And try and relax as much as possible.
All right, let's give it a go.
Let's see how we go.
Okay.
That's looking great.
Wow, that's amazing, George.
That's fantastic, Jake. That's your homework for the next few weeks, mate. I want you to pick a side, whichever you feel more comfortable on. It can be left or right. There's no rule that says left. And just walk calmly, calm down, slow down a little bit, relax. If you become a calm, assertive energy, she's going to become a calm, passive dog.
Okay.
So we have to present to her a model of who we are and who she is, and she'll be a much different dog in a few weeks.
Great, that's fantastic.
Enjoy.
Thanks, George.
Shall we try the two dogs?
I think we should give it a go.
It's up for the challenge.
All right.
Excellent. Okay, now give Socks a bit more lead.
Socks more?
That's it, about there, yep. Very nice. That's great, Jake. You've got a handle on this really quickly, and so have they. But splitting them up stops them competing with each other.
Yep.
Then they're focused on you more, and you're showing them that you're giving direction on the walk. You're the leader of the walk.
All right, cool.
This sets up a really healthy relationship.
All right.
With you and your dog. I think we're going to go on to doing some off-lead training next.
All right,
We'll try
cool.
that.
That sounds great. Try George's tips yourself. Your dog should walk calmly by your side, walk confidently and calmly with a short but loose leash, Focus on yourself and where you're going, not on your dog. And stopping and smelling happens when you choose. Please visit sitdropstay.com.au for more information. Hi James, welcome back.
Thanks very much.
This wool feels really greasy. Has it come straight from the farm?
Yes, it has. So this is straight off the sheep's back and into these bales. So you can see it's quite dirty and it feels very, very greasy. So what we do now is we clean this wool in a process called scouring. So that is like washing at home in a number of different detergents. We wash this wool to get all the grease out and all the dirt out, so we have nice clean wool at the end of the process. That starts over here, so I can show you that right now.
Alright,
Sure.
awesome.
So guys, this is the start of the scouring process. So what happens is we bring the wool in here and it drops into this big hopper. It goes along these rollers and starts to enter the scouring baths from here.
Okay.
Why is scouring so important?
Well, as you saw before, the wool's very dirty and very greasy when it comes off the sheep's back. So before we can do anything else to process the wool, we need to clean it first. We wash away all the dirt, we wash all the grease away, which is called lanolin, and then we dry the wool, and so at the end of the process we have nice clean wool that we can start to process into whatever textiles we want to make from it.
Alright, great.
Well guys, here we are now at the scouring baths. So after the wool's opened up and goes along the conveyor belt we just saw, it comes into these baths. And there are about 6 baths all the way along the line, and the wool goes through each one, and it slowly but surely gets cleaner as it goes from bath to bath.
So after the wool's been scoured, what happens next?
Well, after scouring, the wool needs to be dried, and it then goes off to the blending room, and all of the fibres are blown about together and blended. And after that, it needs to go and get carded.
So this must be the blending room. What happens here?
That's right, yes. So after the wool's been dried at the end of scouring, it comes through a big pipe into this room. The fibres get blended, so a big chute of air blasts the wool in here. It's sort of like walking through the snow when it's running, and you get a nice consistent blend of wool when you take it out of here to go to the next stage, which is carding.
And it's soft and it's not oily!
Okay guys, well this is a carding machine. So we've just come from the blending room, and you might have noticed that even though the wool was very clean there, the fibres are still loose and entangled. And so the next stage in the process is that we have to align those fibres. Basically the loose wool is fed in, and there's a series of drums just like this one all the way through. And the fibre is spread onto each drum, and the drums rotate against each other, and they've got these little metal teeth on the surface. So the teeth capture all the fibres sitting on the surface as it rotates against another drum, and those fibres are aligned parallel to each other, much the same way as the teeth are set onto the drums.
And can carding cause damage to the wool?
Particularly weak fibres can be damaged in carding. That's a good thing because we want them out of the finished product. So we usually lose about 2% to 4% of our wool.
Well James, it's been really interesting today. Thanks for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
For more information, go to merino.com.
Hey guys, are you ready for today's joke?
Totally.
Why did the chicken cross the beach?
It's not the same as the chicken across the road, is it?
No.
No? I don't know.
No, I don't know.
To get to the other tide. You get it?
Oh,
No, I
Alec.
Wildcats is a rescue centre in Queensland that dedicate their time to the rescue and rehoming of cats, guard dogs and wildlife. Some of the rescue stories have wonderful outcomes and others are not so lucky. Nelson was an orphan kitten that had been rescued. Sadly, he was found to be blind in one eye. The team at Wildcats worked hard and paid to restore his sight through expensive operations and lots of care. We were lucky enough to meet a family who adopted a gorgeous dog with a tragic history.
So tell us Bo's story.
Well, we got Bo 2.5 years ago off the woman who rescued him from Nerang on the Gold Coast. He'd been abandoned in an old work site and left for dead. He'd been beaten fairly badly. This is why his ear is floppy. It may look cute, but he was actually beaten quite severely there. He had a broken leg and his tail was broken. And so Barbara Jackson, she rescued him, took him home, 8 to 10 months, rehabilitated him, and then we ended up with Bo.
So did you have to do any special training with Bo?
Yes, we did, because he's fully trained himself. We didn't know how trained he was. He was doing tricks he knew how to sit, roll, lay down. We had to get in a professional trainer who trains these type of dogs, Paul Andrick from Canine Centre here in South Brisbane, and he spent quite a lot of time teaching us how trained Bo was. It wasn't that he had to teach Bo, had to teach us, because we didn't know how to look after him properly.
So here's that experience. So he had to be taught. Wow.
And he loves it. He's got his own bed. He sleeps with his paws in the air. He's got his favourite toys.
Yeah.
Him and Eddie chase each other around the yard, and it's fantastic to see him from what he was when we got him to what he is now. It's just such a different dog.
It's such a turnaround. Yeah. Wow.
So Chris, for giving a home to Bo, we'd like to give you this bag of holistic select dog food made from chicken meal and oatmeal recipe for large breeds just like Bo.
Oh, thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Jake. He's going to love it, aren't you, big fella?
No worries.
Good boy.
Wildcats are always looking for foster carers, volunteers and happily accept any donations. So please go to wildcatsqld.com to offer your help. So for your chance to win a year's supply of holistic select pet food, go to allaboutanimalz.tv and enter the competition.
Viewer Pets is brought to you by Para Hills Vet Clinic. Yes, it's that time again. Viewers Pets. I get lots and lots of great photos of your pets emailed in, and I love looking through them all. I've picked out a few to share with you, so let's take a look. Our first viewer pet has been sent in by 11-year-old Eliza Jane from Tenterfield in New South Wales. This is her 10-week-old puppy, Millie. She's a Tenterfield Terrier Cross Jack Russell, and she is obsessed with biting feet. Millie loves to sleep during the day on Eliza Jane's blanket. But at 9 p.m, Millie goes crazy and runs around the lounge room. Our next photo has been sent in by Maddie, who is 11, from Sydney, New South Wales. Oscar is a cross-eyed Burmese cat, but can still walk along fences and catch mice. He loves to sunbathe and thinks he's the boss and takes up the whole bed and snores really loudly too. Our last but certainly not least viewer pet has been sent in by 11-year-old Amelia from Runaway Bay on the Gold Coast. Max is a Shih Tzu that Amelia got from the Animal Welfare League. He sleeps in Amelia's doll's cot, and he's the little baby of the family. He loves wearing Amelia's pink sunglasses. And in summer, he loves sitting in his inflatable boat while Amelia swims in the pool. So to have your pet on All About Animals, just email info@allaboutanimals.tv with 3 photos of you and your pet, 5 things about your pet, and your name, age, suburb and state. And don't forget to enter our awesome competitions. Go to www.allaboutanimals.tv. So Ben, tell us about your show.
Yeah, look, I'm lucky enough to work across on Nat Geo Wild.
Yep.
So teaching children just like yourself all about wildlife here in Australia and overseas.
So what exactly do you do in your show?
With the Nat Geo Wild, we travel around the country filming different things to teach people about wildlife, but I've also run a company called Wild Animal Encounters. So back at home we've got our own little American alligators, just like this little girl here, which we use in educational programs and outreach programs, travelling all over Australia to teach people about wildlife.
And what's been your favourite animal to work with?
I've got a bit of a soft spot for lions. I must admit, I do really like lions, so every time I get across to Africa and get to work with them over there, obviously, which is the home of the lions, it's nice to see them in their natural environment and do some work with their conservation, because there's only between 18,000 and 28,000 lions left in the entire world.
Really?
So not very many left at all. So we really need to do some work, not only to save our native wildlife here in Australia, which is what we're here for National Threatened Species Day about, but also about some of the wildlife overseas.
And what would be probably your greatest experience?
Last year we went up to the Okavango Delta, once again in Botswana, and we went out into the delta with a couple of African elephants, and I got to go swimming with a female elephant with her calf. It was pretty special.
Well, thanks Ben for chatting to us about alligators and your TV show.
No worries guys, anytime, and who knows, we might see you across in Africa.
I hope so.
Yeah. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.
Now it's time for you to visit our website and enter some great competitions for your pet. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
So, see you next time.
harvests from around the globe are wrapping themselves into the record books. The Woolmark Company presents the world's longest social scarf. Join us at wrappedinmerino.com.